Hello, welcome to Shifting Mindsets. I am Jessica Maisonave, and please come along. We started out the session with a quote, and I asked the participants to reflect on the quote. So if you would like to do that, go ahead and pause this video and take 3 minutes to reflect on the quote. Okay, so what we did afterwards was we shared some of our reflections, and one of the questions I asked was for them to tell me how they reflected. Did they use pen and paper? Did they blog it? Did they email it? Did they talk to their neighbor? So we went through and we talked about what were the possibilities of the actual reflection rather than what the quote meant to them. Although we did also discuss the quote. The idea was to go into this poplet and contribute to the ideas. That didn't work on the day, but I had created my own poplet, and so these are some of the things I had put together. So if I asked my students to reflect, how could they do it? They could blog their reflection. They could just draw a picture somehow on the internet. If they wanted to do it digitally, they could record their voice. They could take pictures, all of these things, manipulation. Actually, somebody during the lecture was using the masking tape and some little sticks and was trying to build something and was seeing how many times she failed. So I'm really glad someone went ahead and did that in a different way. So I want to bring your attention back to this idea of failure. How many of you think that failing is bad? Now, how many of you think that your students think that failing is bad? I would argue that removing the fear of failure allows students to take chances with their thinking. They'll take chances with their learning. They will go places that we've only ever dared to dream of. If we can teach our students to walk away from conventional methods and practices, embracing that possibility of failure, I think we can create a future of people who will be innovative and adaptive thinkers. They'll take in the information around them, their wicked problems, if you will, and process it in ways that no one has ever done before. They'll come up with bigger and better solutions. Sure, they'll fail along the way, but that will only contribute to their capabilities for innovation. Now, this brings me to the mindsets that I am looking to shift. They're yours. If we want to extract creativity and novel thinking from our students, then we need to model it for them. And I don't mean give them 3 or 4 different examples of how they might go about a project. I mean that we have to be creative. We have to dare to cross into the unknown. We have to show them that we believe in our own ideas, even if they're crazy, even when we're pretty sure that they might fail. We have to encourage taking chances by being willing to fail ourselves. I love this quote. This is the Queen from Alice's Adventures in Wonderland saying, "Why, sometimes I've believed as many as 6 impossible things before breakfast." We need to believe those impossible things. There's a phrase that always jumps into my mind when I'm thinking about being creative and not being afraid to fail, and I'm sure it's swimming around about in lots of your minds. And that is the phrase of thinking outside the box. This is how I interpret someone thinking outside the box.
Now, this is what I want our students to do.
We have to get our students to obliterate their boxes. They need to be living in something far more flexible than cardboard. According to Stephen R. Pritzker, who wrote the Encyclopedia of Creativity, flexibility is a personality trait, the extent to which a person can cope with changes in circumstances and think about problems and tasks in novel, creative ways. So I want you to investigate your students' flexibilities. How far are they willing to push? I dare you to challenge your students to defy conventions. I want you to dare them to turn something in that isn't what they think you expect. This doesn't mean that you have to give up the message behind the project. They can still learn the lesson you want them to learn. It just means that you have to be willing to let them do it in ways that you might not comprehend at first. And what it really means is that we have to question our own expectations. Teachers are role models for students. We're role models for their thinking. We're role models for how they question assumptions. A student's ability to think about a problem in a new and creative way is limited by what he assumes the teacher expects. This is what I mean by shifting mindsets. You as a teacher have to question your own expectations. You have to free your students from these limitations. Shifting mindsets is not something that's done in a 20-minute conference session. But I do hope that I've made some people here think about their own assumptions and their expectations as teachers, or even as learners themselves. And I also hope I've made you think about the way in which you go about solving a problem. And do you think outside the box, or do you obliterate your box? The tools I wanted to share are not magic tools that will change your perspective on life, your perspective on learning, but they're tools that can help you and your students explore your limitations, explore your expectations. I'm going to start with one tool in particular that can open windows, let the breeze in, and blow away the conventions. You've all used it. You're all familiar with it in many different ways. And in fact, I would venture to say that you are all using it right now. Any guesses? That's right. The internet. The internet is a huge source of ideas, and it's an absolute wealth of resources. It's a tool for rethinking your thinking. The internet can be used to explore other people's ideas. You literally have the entire world at your fingertips. You can find out how other people go about solving problems. You can discover what's been done before, what hasn't been done before, how people think differently, how they approach problems differently. All of that is a tool for opening your eyes. As far as a technology of resources, I'm going to give you an example of one right here. It's called Cool Tools for Schools, and I recommend you go to this site. Cool Tools for Schools is a website that was put together that just has tons and tons of different resources that you can use for making presentations, for doing video, audio, for writing, for mind mapping, for collaboration. Let's just click, for example, collaborative tools, and it takes you just through hundreds and hundreds of tools that you can use. And it's just an amazing way to discover new ways of presenting information, if you will, new ways of collaborating, new ways of turning in projects. It's really, really quite amazing. One of the really interesting ones, actually, that I discovered is WebDoc. And WebDoc's a lot of fun. So what I've done here, it's their feeds, basically, posts. And I've started one here about failure. Put some writing in. I put a little example of information. I included a video from YouTube about Dr. Karan Mazumdar Shah talking about how fear blocks creativity. Another video there by RSA Animate by Ken Robinson. And there were some comments on it, and when you comment, and you can actually create another feed like this. So I started creating another one right there, and so your students could collaborate and work with each other and bring in outside resources all on the same page. And there are many, many different tools that can be used. Here's another one of them called Sam Animation. It's for stop video animation, stop motion, excuse me. So once again, you need to discover your own fears, discover your own limitations, push yourself in order to model for your students, in order to challenge them, question these assumptions. I've created a quick fire. This is something you would do in 10 minutes if you go to this link right here, and you can also find it on my page in this website. It's a 10-minute quick fire that'll have you do a presentation and see how far you can push your own boundaries. So thank you very much, and if you have any questions or comments, please go ahead and leave them on the web doc, Twitter them. You can leave them right on this document, any number of different places. So thank you very much, and take care.